All programs have preferences. Preferences control how we see things inside of the workspace. They control how we work with the program itself. They can make things more efficient. There's a lot of things that preferences can help us with, and Bridge is no exception to that. Now let's go through just a few of the preferences that are up there. Now if you're on a Windows system, go to the word Edit. If you're on a Mac, go to Adobe Bridge CC and go to Preferences right here. Incidentally, the shortcut for getting them on Mac or Windows is Control-K, and that's Windows, or Command-K Mac. Let's start with General up here. In General Preferences, you have the ability to change the interface. Now, I prefer something a little bit darker because it helps me identify the images easier than if it's really light like this. You can then change, once you've got that done, the user interface here. That's doing it manually, obviously, or the inside in here. Let's go back to the default. Now, the accent color is actually, well, like this up here, it says Essentials. That's the accent color. You can change that to something else if you want to. Again, I'll take that back to default. Some of the behaviors, like for example, if you connect your camera, should it automatically launch the Adobe Photo Downloader? I typically don't want it to do that, so I leave those things off. Here are your favorites, which are over here. You can turn some of those off if you don't want them over here. Next lesson, we'll talk about how you add things to favorites. And you can reset all your dialog warnings. You know those boxes that come up sometimes and say, warning, if you do this, blah, blah, blah. Click here so you're not notified again. If you wish that would all come back, you can click there. Let's go to thumbnails. Let me move this over a little bit. In thumbnails, you will notice that the only thing we see is the name right here. But you can add other things. Date created, dimensions, keywords if you have any, size, or any combination. And if you don't like what it's got here, you can click here and anything. Anything that might help you identify the image and say that's the one I want. You can add that. Now this is a global thing, obviously. You turn these on, it's for every time you open up Bridge. You can show tooltips if you want to do that too. Playback, metadata. Let's go to metadata. In metadata, this is the stuff that will appear when you're displaying metadata. One of the ones I want you to make sure that's on is history. History, if it's turned on, gives you everything you have ever done to that image as you work on it. I like that one. I always make sure that one's on. But the other stuff, like DICOM, DICOM is for medical images. And although I'll leave this on because it's the default, that's not what I really need because I don't work in medical photography. So you can decide what stuff you want on. Labels, basically, that's what they mean now. Red is select, yellow is second. We'll get into labeling later, but basically you can change these if you want to. This is my favorite one. Actually, I should say most important one. File type associations. For example, if I go onto my computer now and I open up a, say, JPEG image, double click on it on my desktop, it will open it up on a Macintosh in Preview because the default in Mac, if you double click on a JPEG, is Preview, not Photoshop. Now you can change that if you want to, but you'll notice here it says Photoshop Creative Cloud. What does that mean? It overrides the operating system. You can choose whatever you want to for whatever images you have open or anything really. So when you're double clicking in the Bridge, it overrides what normally would happen in your operating system. Now the cache has two options here that are kind of important. One is compact. Bridge will save for you these thumbnails, and they're usually 100% previews, which means they're not small. But it means when you look at them, you can get a good idea of what it looks like in terms of quality and decide if you want to open it up. So I would leave that one on. But every once in a while, you might want to do a compact. Now, it optimizes the cache. Things can happen in the cache. It can even still have things in cache on images that are no longer there. By compacting it, it gets rid of all that stuff for you. Helps Bridge run more efficiently. Now, if you would like to start all over again, you can purge. Now, when you do that, all the cache, all the images, everything goes away and it starts from scratch. So when you first do that, although that's not a bad thing to do occasionally, when it first happens, Bridge is going to run a little bit slower for you until it gets caught up again. Last one I want to show you is startup scripts right here. Now, the one I really like, and you should turn this one on, it's not on by default, is Contact Sheet. We'll look at that later. But it was a feature that was in Photoshop, and I don't know, there was like this uproar on you took my contact sheet away from me, and so they put it back in again. So if you turn that on, you'll have it. Let's go ahead and click OK and get out of here. There are a lot of preferences in this program, just like Photoshop. The idea is, of course, to go through them and put them into a configuration that works best for you.